We need some board members to sit down.
Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to the September 11, 2025 board meeting for St. Tammany Parish School Board. Ms. Coakley, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Green.
Here.
Ms. Hanson. Ms. Rutherford. Ms. Fauntleroy. Mr. Harrell. Ms. Martin. Ms. Moore. Dr. Peterson. Ms. Baker. Ms. McCullum. Ms. Lamy. Ms. Hurstis. Mr. Burrow. Mr. Kuzan. Ms. Rufino Gallagher.
Thank you. As you all know, today is September 11th, and as we pause to remember the lives lost on this day in 2001, and we honor the courage of first responders, service members, and everyday citizens who answered the call to help. At this time, please rise for the presentation of colors by the Covington High Navy JROTC and remain standing for the invocation and pledge.
Ready? What? Present. Colors.
Please remain standing for the invocation, which will be delivered by Mandeville High student Beja Lopez Morgan.
As we gather here today, we pause to remember and honor the lives lost on September 11, 2001. We hold in our hearts the victims, their families, and the countless heroes who demonstrated courage and compassion in the face of tragedy. May their memory inspire us to lead with integrity, wisdom, and a deep commitment to the well-being of our students and community. Grant us clarity in our decisions, unity in our purpose, and strength to serve with compassion. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Our pledge will be led by Fontainebleau High student Owen Este.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Ready? Front. Left. Peace. Forward. March. Left. 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 Right. 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 Left. Left.
You may be seated. In continued remembrance of this day, we will now hear a brief reading adapted from President George W. Bush's address to the nation on the evening of September 11, 2001. This reading will be delivered by Owen Este and Beja Lopez Morgan.
Today we remember September 11th, 2001, a day that forever changed this nation. The words we're about to read are taken from President George W. Bush's address to the nation on that evening. Good evening. Today our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist attacks. The victims were in airplanes or in their offices, secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads, friends and neighbors. Thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil, despicable acts of terror. Terrorist acts can shake the foundation of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America. These acts shattered steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve.
Today, our nation saw evil, the very worst of human nature, and we responded with the best of America, with the daring of our rescue workers, with the caring for strangers and neighbors who came to give blood and help in any way they could. This is a day when all Americans from every walk of life unite in our resolve for justice and peace. None of us will ever forget this day, yet we go forward to defend freedom and all that is good and just in our world. Thank you. Good night, and God bless America.
Thank you, Owen and Beja. Thank you, Owen and Beja, again, and thank you as well to the Covington High Navy Junior ROTC for presenting the colors. As a school system, we remember the past, we support those who serve, and we commit to teaching our students what endures from this tragedy: courage, compassion, community, and civic responsibility. So thanks again to the Color Guard, the Navy Junior ROTC, and to Owen and Beja. Moving along in our agenda is a recognition of visitors. Does anybody? Ms. McCullum?
Yes, sorry. I'd like to recognize Mr. Brian Hurstis, our new principal at Fontainebleau High School. And Owen has already been introduced, but we are keeping our fingers crossed because he is applying for United States page, Senate page, and we're just hoping that that's going to come through for him.
Good for him. Ms. Baker?
I'd just like to thank the gentleman in the Navy jacket for your service. I could tell by the way you were standing that you've served our country, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Mr. Harrell?
Thank you, President Green. I just want to recognize an old elementary school friend, Rebecca Lee and her husband James, but they just snuck out and they're back there talking to Officer Powell.
I'll turn it over now to Mr. Jabby for the superintendent update.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate the board allowing us to do this tonight. I don't think any of us will forget where we were on 9/11/2021. I know that day, I'll remember that for the rest of my life. As a teacher at Slaughter High School, being glued to what was going on and not knowing exactly the impact of everything that was going on. So I appreciate everyone taking some time today. I also want to thank Covington High's. Kenny Shank every year does the 911 stair climb to recognize all of our first responders. And normally 9/11 is not on a board night, so we're able to go. And I let him know that we had a board meeting tonight, and he had. I mean, this is the perfect night to do it. So I just hope they're having a great night, and he always puts on a first-class event. So thank you, Kenny and Covington High School, for the invitation, and I hope everything is going well there tonight. as I told you last week, I was going to the Truancy Summit, and I did that in Alexandria all day on Monday. It was a great event. I was there at my table. They broke us up in a region. We're Region 9. I was at the St. Tammany Washington Parish table. So it was Washington Parish, myself, 2 of the juvenile justice representatives, and our FINS representative, Patrick. And so we got to have some really, really good conversation because FINS and the Justice Department, juvenile justice, it encompasses Bogalusa, Washington, and us. And so there was really some rich conversation that we were able to have. We were joined by 6 Bessie Board members at the meeting, 450 people, 6 Bessie Board meetings, 3 of the Louisiana Supreme Court justices, numerous other judges from different JDs, along with prosecutors and attorneys, like people, very connected people, with the purpose of how can we support school systems so that we can get kids to attend school like they're supposed to. And so we really had some great conversation. We are far ahead of a lot of the rural districts that are in the state of Louisiana. So they came and kind of used us as an example for a lot of things we do with the hearings we hold, and we hold parents accountable, and they have to attend our child and welfare attendance officers. We have Melissa Easton on one side and Donis McIntyre on the other. They do a great job. We have a great relationship with FINS, and it's all about, what it comes down to is FINS doesn't have enough people. That's what it comes down to. They're spread too thin. They can only handle about 300 cases a year. They can't handle any more than that. And we have 3 FINS officers that deal with Washington, Bogalusa, and St. Tammany. And that's what it comes down to, is that we don't have enough people. They work with people. They try to stay out of the court system because bringing people to court is not a good thing for anyone. So we try to be proactive, and they have pledged. We all are working together, and Melissa and Donis do a great job of getting that going. So we're very hopeful that we're headed in the right direction. I think the message has been sent to the state loud and clear of what we need to do. So very successful meeting. The only problem was I finished in Alexandria at 4:30, and that put me in Baton Rouge traffic at 6 p.m., which was not fun. So I got home about 8 o'clock, and that is not a nice drive. I'm just gonna let you know, I just don't care for it. and a lot of traffic, but it was well worth it. So I appreciate the ability to get up there and do that and take care of those things. Yesterday, I got to speak to the St. Tammany Parish retired educators. Today, I got to speak to Region 3, which is basically all of the North Shore Retired Educators Association and the state director. So very happy with some of the things we have going on. I was there to welcome them, and they are transitioning. Louisiana Retired Teachers Association is transitioning to a new state leader who is a former superintendent that I had a relationship with. He was from Tensall Parish, and Paul's going to do a great job in that role, and he's going to continue to advocate for our retired employees and our soon-to-be retired employees. So I told him, hold the phone, I won't be too far along. No, I'm just joking. No, it was really good, rich conversation and a lot of great information. So really happy about some of the things. They are really going to fight hard to return more retirees to the classroom that want to come back to the classroom, which is great. There are people that want to come back to the classroom, and we want to help them get there. And then they're on the same fight that we're on to protect public education. So it was great conversation all the way around, and they are very powerful. The Retired Teachers Association is an extremely powerful group, and they have the ear and the opportunity to get to our legislature. So that's always a good thing. So board members, thank you all very much. Great week. Off to a good start again this week, and finish strong tomorrow. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jabby. Any questions for the superintendent? See none, we'll move to the next is our consent agenda. Would any board member like to remove an item from the consent agenda? Ms. Hurstis?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I would like to remove, if I could see, because I have one contact that is a complete blur. It is the expulsion item G. E, F, G.
Yep, expulsion, item G, so we're going to remove item G.
Yeah.
Any others, board members?
The mandated reporting one, but I don't see.
It's separate.
Yeah,
It's
that's-
separate already.
Okay, so I'll read the other items of the consent agenda, and then we'll vote on that. Item B is approval of minutes for the regular meeting held August 14th, 2025. Item C, approval of minutes for the public hearing held August 21st, 2025. Item D recommends acceptance of revisions to School Board Policy IFA instructional materials. Item E recommends acceptance of revisions to School Board Policy IFBGA, student use of instructional technology. Item F recommends acceptance of revisions to School Board Policy JCDAF, bullying. Item H recommends acceptance of revisions to School Board Policy JGCF, behavioral health support for students. Item I, consideration on a new board policy JGCF, mental health assessment screeners for students. Item J recommends acceptance of a resolution adopting the superintendent's proposed budgets for fiscal year 25 through 26. Item K recommends use of the remaining 2019 bond referendum funds for various school improvement projects across the parish as attached. Item L recommends commitment of BP oil spill settlement fund proceeds for school safety and security initiatives as attached. Item M recommends acceptance of Mandeville Junior High gym locker room renovations STPSB project number P0367 is substantially complete. Do I have a motion? Mr. Kuzan, do I have a second? Ms. Moore, any comments from the public? Any comments from the board? See none, let's please vote. And the consent agenda passes unanimously. The agenda items A, appropriate retirement resolutions for the following certificated personnel subsequent to August 14th, 2025. Mr. Alfonso.
Thank you, President Green, Superintendent Jabby, and Board. Holly W. Moore Educational Center, 29.67 years, 15.17 years in St. Tammany Parish. Tracy M. Malauson, Lancaster Elementary, 24.9 years, 19.12 years in St. Tammany Parish. Kimberly Morgan, Magnolia Trace Elementary, 28.96 years, 19 years in St. Tammany Parish. Kathy M. Baker, Slidell High, 21.04 years, 16.04 years in St. Tammany Parish, for a total of 104.5 years.
Thank you, Mr. Alfonso. Do I have a motion? Ms. Lamy, do I have a second? Ms. Rutherford? Any comments from the public? Any from the board? Please vote. And that motion carries unanimously. Item B is appropriate retirement resolutions for the following employee support services personnel subsequent to August 14, 2025. Mr. Alfonso.
Thank you again, President Green, Superintendent Jabby, and Board. Kimberly B. Bearden, Bayou Woods Elementary, 30.48 years, 21.48 years in St. Tammany Parish. Gerard J. Guidry Jr., Central Office, 7 years, all in St. Tammany Parish. Julie L. Weiss, Harrison Curriculum Center, 22.3 years, all in St. Tammany Parish. Lori S. Jones, Transportation Center, 33.02 years, all in St. Tammany Parish, and has a total of 92.8 years.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a motion? Ms. Rutherford, do I have a second? Ms. Baker, any comments from the public? Any from the board? Please vote.
Did yours come up?
Now it did, this did.
That motion carries unanimously. Item C is recommends acceptance of revisions to School Board Policy JGCE, child abuse. Do I have a motion? Ms. Hurstis? Do I have a second? Ms. Rutherford? Any comments from the public? And board, please queue up. Looks like Ms. Baker hit her button first, so Ms. Baker, you're up.
Thank you, Chairman Green. Again, well, I went back and watched the meeting yesterday concerning our proposed policy for mandated reporters for child abuse. And I was really sad when I realized that us, between administration and the board, can't get on the same page, and yet we expect our teachers and our employees all to be on the same page. So I am going to once again try to say that I went through this one more time, and I made myself a little flow chart here. And what we're asking teachers and employees to do as a mandated reporter, and failure to do so could be felony charges. It's serious. And so I am going to again ask that we require our teachers to do the A-N-D, report to DCFS and law enforcement, and it could or could not be an SRO. So if you suspect child abuse, as an employee, you're a mandated reporter, and you have to report directly and immediately. And I just don't think, regardless of what the law says, I mean, we would be covered by the law, but I don't think a teacher should have to stop and think, okay, am I supposed to call DCFS because it happened in the home? Or am I supposed to call the police because maybe it's not in the home? I just don't think we need to put employees through that. I am against, even though the law allows it, reporting to SROs, because nothing in this law says that an SRO would be required to then give the mandated reporter a case number or a ticket number or whatever you want to call it. Nothing in there is protecting the person who reported. Now, I know that as the law is written now, that an SRO is a mandated reporter. But check this. The SRO then can report to they had to report to their employer, and again, my argument's the same. I gave an example of Covington High, where the crime may or may not have, alleged crime may or may not have happened in the city of Covington. It could have happened Lee Road, Bush, wherever, where those students attend Covington High, and yet they report to Covington PD because that's the SRO. They're mandated reporter. They get nothing to prove that. And then the SRO is a mandated reporter. He reports to his employer, who then may, and look, I know it's not going to happen in St. Tammany. I know that we are almost the poster child of how this is supposed to run. If any of you all saw the district attorney's press conference, it was done from the Hope House with all the way up to state police, our attorney general, everyone's working together to nip this because it's a problem. But as a mandated reporter, I just don't think that we can say it's permissible, even though it's a law, to report to an SRO and we have no proof that an employee actually did their due diligence. I know there's not an SRO that's not going to not report it, but it doesn't say that. It doesn't say you have to do this. And if you don't, by the way, you could have felony charges, but we're not going to give you anything to say that you did. Whereas if you do report to DCFS and it only has to be a suspicion, it's not for us to figure out as a school system. We're not investigators. We're not law enforcement. We're not DCFS, but we certainly work in partnership with all of those people. So to keep it simple, I am just urging everyone to please, if we, rather than have to dissect this, just say just do both. Get online, make the report, call law enforcement, and go on back to teaching and pray for the best. I don't know what else to do. In addition to that, the law says that we're going to train people between, I think it says June and August. And if we approve this, then how are we going to do an in-service training to let teachers know who they're supposed to be reporting to when? It's just, like Mr. Jabbia said last week, I mean, we don't want to put our we are going to protect children the best that we can. And we're going to work with all the agencies involved that do protect children when a crime has happened against a child. But Mr. Jabbia said several times, I mean, we don't want to put our employees in a trick bag. Well, the law is written like a trick bag. So I just say, and I know our advisor, Mr. Harrison, says that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it's an or, because that's what the law says. But then you have to dissect which one you have to do, and if you don't know, you don't know. So I am going to, again, ask that if we can do some sort of amendment to say just call them both, or until we're able to train and get this cleared up, keep the old one until we can come up with something different.
Point of order, I didn't want to interrupt Ms. Baker, but did we ask for? Point of order, I didn't want to interrupt Ms. Baker, but did we ask for public comment first?
Yeah.
We did? Okay.
So that's it. That's what I have. That's my recommendation.
Okay. Ms. Hurstis?
Did you want Mr. Harrison to answer you on that,
I mean,
Ms. Baker, before I
think I know
go?
where you stand according to last week, but if you want to certainly correct, I mean, I'm all about it, but I did talk to.
Just very briefly, for the sake of this meeting, I agree with a lot of what you said, okay? But I think that your solution is to, with your friendship with Mr. Sims, and get together and change the law in Baton Rouge. And when you change the law in Baton Rouge, then we can have a policy that parallels the law. But if we do what you're suggesting, you're going to create great tension between the law and the policy, and I think it's going to cause confusion. You have to follow law in your policy. It's that simple. You will create confusion if you change our policy contrary to state law. So when the law says or, I want to follow or. If the law in Baton Rouge says and, I would follow and. And if you write a law, if you write a policy contrary to law and you've added an onus onto it, I don't know the consequences of that. You see, so like I defend the entire system, and for the first time in my career, I came across a case that does not have to do with this system, but there was a person out there, and to keep it general, she's now being accused of not reporting. And she told her supervisor and others, and I don't know if she called a hotline, but she didn't follow the gold standard of DCFS or the police. So see, I don't like eroding our policy ever contrary to state law. That's where I come from it. But I also agree with you, and I said that publicly. But I would change the law in Baton Rouge, and then I would flip, and next board meeting, we'll have an and.
And I did talk to Representative Carver concerning this. My issue specifically, I guess, is once you have the suspicion or a child has disclosed, it says in our policy, if you suspect the child's abuser lives in the home, like, how can we vote this in without a training? Because if you suspect the child's abuser lives in the home, then you contact DCF. But if you suspect that the child's abuser lives outside the home, then you contact law enforcement. I just think, I hear what you're saying, because I hear what you're saying, but I think, and I will work to get it cleaned up, But in the meantime, I think it's a trick bag, and I'm just not for it. But I do appreciate all your work and your advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Ms. Hurstis?
I'm actually going to pass.
Okay. Ms. Gallagher?
I have two things. One, I thought, like, if the state law is X, you can't do anything less than the law, but you can do more. So this is where I'm asking, like, just to say to follow, but we could say and our employees would know it's but that, and I'm just asking the question, I'm not saying to change it, I'm just asking, but so that everybody knows, we can be more stringent than the law in any aspect of the state law, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But imagine this. Your employees are going to get trained on this in school and later with modules, and they're going to get told to do A or B. And then you're going to write a policy that says, no, you got to do both. It adds confusion. That's what I'm concerned with. So I just am very adamant on this because it's a very delicate subject that permeates many of my cases. So I've dealt with the scenarios in reality, not in theory. So this is just one of those cases that it went through an entire committee and we discussed this for hours. But it's very simple for me on this one. I just want to follow state law. So I don't have confused employees thinking they're covered if they call a hotline. That doesn't meet the standard. I don't want employees thinking that, well, I'm going to overanalyze it and I don't know what they're going to do. But if you report it to DCFS, what happens in practice is if it's in the house, they'll investigate it, and if it's not, they turn it over to the police. And if they turn it over to the police and they don't call DCFS, they're legally covered. You're now obligating the police under the current policy, they shall report it. That creates more mandatory reporters. They're not going to ignore it. They are not allowed to ignore it. But if they did ignore it, then your SRO will get in trouble, the police officer will get in trouble. You see, and we will have absolute immunity, but the point of it is protecting children.
Right.
So when you really get down to it in practice, if you follow the law, you add clarity. If you vary from the law, you create confusion.
Okay.
That is where I am with it. Yes,
Right,
ma'am.
I get it. The other thing I have is very simple. On page 1 of 6, maybe I'm just not reading it right, it's the last paragraph. It says a mandated reporter means any teaching or childcare provider. Should that be any teacher? Like, maybe I just misunderstand it. Like, it says a mandated reporter means any teaching or childcare provider, which is any person who provides assistance in the teaching, training, and supervision of a child. I feel like that word should be teacher.
Well, again, that's
Or-
probably a parallel of the state statute, but a paraprofessional who's not a teacher is
Right.
also a mandated
Right, so I feel like
reporter.
it should, mandated reporter should be any, if it's our policy, any employee.
Well, not all employees, if they have no contact with children, then they may not be mandatory reporters, say like someone, I just don't know.
Right,
This
that's
is
what I'm
where
saying,
we
but I just
track-
don't feel like any teaching isn't the right word. What's a teaching? Is that a thing?
No,
Is it a noun? Is it a verb?
again, I didn't write that one.
You know what I'm saying? That's
so-
what I'm, and I don't know where it came from, that's what I'm asking. The blue stuff is state law verbatim? Okay, that'll be my next question, to ask them what that means when I email them. Okay, I was just asking, if we can't change it, we can't change it, I just didn't understand it.
Okay. Ms. Hanson?
I wasn't going to even bring this up, however, after hearing what Mr. Harrison said, then I felt like I need to. First of all, I'd like to thank Ms. Hurstius for adding the comment in there about, contacting a hotline. And I think that anytime, like Mr. Harrison said last week, tell as many people as we can if we really suspect something's going on to protect our children. But the other part that I'm struggling with is his saying, anytime we vary from the law, we add confusion. So if we're putting something in our policy that varies from the law, such as, and in addition, contact the hotline, Crime Stoppers, that is in our policy now, and I don't have a problem with it at all. I think that we should continue to encourage anyone and everyone to contact Crime Stoppers. However, this is a variation from the written law, and I'm concerned that it's going to add to confusion, that someone might look at it and misread it, because our employees are very overworked, and misread it and presume that they can just call then the Crime Stoppers, and then we're right back where we are before. And as you said before, in that it didn't happen in this parish, in this district, but you now know of a case in which the district varied from the way in which the law was written, and so therefore, because the employee did not contact specifically who the employee was supposed to contact, let's say calling Crime Stoppers, then that person is now federal charges. Is that what it is? No.
No,
Oh,
it was
oh.
in this parish, and it's just being investigated.
Oh,
So,
okay, but I mean,
say-
what I'm saying is that it now has to be investigated, and that's an employee that, and I don't want us to do anything that muddies the waters for our employees. So I like having Crime Stoppers, I like encouraging it, Crime Stoppers, having the posters in there at the schools. I think, though, in our policy, I would like to omit that in the policy only. And if it doesn't pass, I respect everyone's right to disagree. I would like that as an amendment. If, again, if somebody would second it, if nobody wants to second it, or nobody wants to vote, or they vote against it, that's fine too. I just am trying to listen to the advice of our council. That's all.
You want to try a friendly amendment?
Would anyone want to? Okay. I'd like to make the amendment that we remove it.
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay. Who had the motion? Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend the motion to exclude the item, item D. Any comments from the public? 4 of 6. And now we're here from the board. This is only on the amendment, so Ms. Hanson, I think you've, yeah, Mr. Harrell?
No.
No.
Thank you, President Green. I know we want to follow the law. Could we not state in the policy, Louisiana state law requires this? St. Tammany Parish School Board encourages employees to do both. Because we really, even if we said we require it, there's no way of us knowing that they did it. So.
Point of order, we're talking about the amendment, right? You're changing the law, you know, that we report both ways. The amendment is to drop paragraph D right now, that's what we're discussing.
Thank you, Mr. Bro, for pointing that out.
Ms. Hurstis.
Okay, well, I wasn't going to speak about this, but it's been brought up again. So I wrote a little something. I'd like to first thank the board members that voted down the motion last week to take out either that you didn't, to take it out either that you didn't agree with, or that at least wanted to give me a chance to speak as to why I asked to have it added, which, poor Steve last week, I think people might have thought you put it in there, but it was me. Here's my reasoning on adding to the following statement in this policy. In addition, individuals may have anonymous report, may make an anonymous report of suspected child abuse or neglect through Crime Stoppers or directly to law enforcement. The law now allows a person to report to either DCFS or law enforcement. I do agree with Gia, Ms. Baker, about and. I will make that. Personally, I would like to see reports go to both, but since that is not the requirement, I felt it was important to repeat and reinforce law enforcement as an option. To repeat and reinforce law enforcement as an option. Too often, DCFS is overwhelmed and reports sit longer than we'd like. Now, when most of us think about reporting child abuse, we think of the most obvious and heinous situations. And of course, all abuse is serious. But sometimes it is not clear-cut. Sometimes a teacher, staff member, or community member might notice something that just doesn't sit right. In those cases of doubt, the option of reporting anonymously might be the very thing that encourages them to step forward. Some might say, including, this is repetitive, and maybe it is. But I believe reminders matter. Not all think clearly in certain situations. We are sitting here, very clear-minded, but let's take me as an example. At some board meetings, if I was here last week, I would not be so clear-minded in speaking because I would have been passionate and upset that everyone was not agreeing with me. And as usual, I would have vomited out words instead of being calm like I am now. I'm giving myself direction because I wrote words on a piece of paper. Maybe this is a silly example, but what I mean by this is sometimes a small reminder on a piece of paper or maybe a policy, even one that feels repetitive, can make a difference. Imagine someone reading this policy in a moment of stress, uncertainty, or even fear. That reminder may spark the thought, wait, I can call local law enforcement, maybe even Crime Stoppers anonymously. I can do this right now. And that could be the difference between hesitation and action. Again, a reminder that law enforcement, an option according to law, is anonymous. At the end of the day, our responsibility is to make reporting abuse easier, clearer, and more acceptable. If one extra reminder in this policy encourages even one person to take action, then it's worth it, because protecting children is far too important to leave to chance. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lamy.
I just want to point out, as she just did, but it says at the bottom, in addition, not replacing. It tells us what we need to do as a mandatory reporter. And at the bottom, it says, in addition, you may also do these things. It's just a reminder. I know firsthand several situations that wanted to be anonymous so they were not investigated, or where people in the school had weird feelings but didn't say anything because they didn't want to accuse. And we've dealt with those as a system. So to not say that this is another option there seems irresponsible.
Thank you, Ms. Lamy. Ms. Rufino Gallagher.
I will say that last week I did ask that this not come off until Michelle was here, Ms. Hursis was here to say it. So only after a conversation, which I feel like last week went on forever. But what Mr. Harrison said, if we put on here that they can, in addition, they can do this, but it doesn't say A or B or C or D. But if they only go to D because they want to report anonymously, then they're not complying with state law. State law does not allow them to call Crime Stoppers. And I think in here, the way it's worded now, I'm not saying take it out, it says in here to do it anonymously, call Crime Stoppers or your local law enforcement. Well, if they want to do it anonymously and they call Crime Stoppers, they're going to like, but in the policy it said I could do it anonymously and call Crime Stoppers, but state law does not, Crime Stoppers is not in there at all. So while I understand where you're coming from, and I do agree with it, I think what Mr. Harrison said earlier, the clearer, the better. And if it doesn't, if it says Crime Stoppers in there and they can do it anonymously, then I do think some people are going to say, in the situations you're talking about, like if I think, sorry, everybody sits in that seat's my problem, is if she's my principal and I think she's doing something I I want to do it anonymously, because if she's not, I don't want her to know it was me. So I think that's where some people have a problem with, and it's confusing, even though it says it in addition to, is that when he said we can't put "and," because then our state law and our school policy are different, so if we throw in Crime Stoppers and they see that, then they think Crime Stoppers is what they can call, and then they're good. And that's not actually the case in state law. So that's just my 2 cents. I'm not saying yes or no, but I'm saying, when he said that, I feel like we can't say they can call Crime Stoppers. That should just be another thing they can do, but it shouldn't be in the policy, because they're gonna say, but you said I could do this. Almost like in addition, you can do this instead of those. Even though it doesn't say instead, there'll be a way to say, well, it was in there, but they didn't call. So that's my opinion.
Okay, Mr. Harrell?
Thank you, President Green. I don't know if we're still talking on the same motion or what, but I'd like to finish my earlier statement. As I was saying.
We're still in the same motion.
As I was saying, I think what we could do is have the state law requires this, school board requests that you do both. Leave the Crime Stoppers part in there, and perhaps put, in addition to making the required reporting, individuals may also call Crime Stoppers to make an anonymous report. I like the idea of telling our employees that we would prefer them do police and DCFS, even though state law only requires one or the other. That's just me. I mean, I think there's still some murky waters with what the police are responsible for, how they know and how they report. We would just want to cover all bases by doing both. That's just my thoughts.
If you if you get to item D and the mandatory reporting requirements, wouldn't you have had to suspected something to report to DCFS or law enforcement to begin with? I'm just trying to.
I don't know if it's directed at me. I mean, in fairness to Ms. Hersius, I read her addition and I approved it because it was clear to me that this was in addition and you may do it. So, but then it was unclear to others in the meeting, and so that concerned me. But, and then like, when we start debating something, does something mean A or does it mean B? Or can we change the language? I get really nervous to the point, it's like, I want a simple policy that parallels law. And look, I'll play the game. Why are we having any policy? Well, because if we don't have a policy, what are we implying? To not report child abuse? You can't do it. So why don't we just cut and paste the law? And then you go, well, we're just wasting time. Like, you can't win, right? So if the language is confusing, I really highly recommend taking it out, not because of my reading of it, but because of someone else's. Now, when the point of this discussion gets to where we're writing a policy that parallels law, I'm happy. And if you want to change state law per usual, please go to Baton Rouge and do it.
Okay, Ms. Hurstis.
Mr. Harrison, you're incorrect. When I added that addition, it was actually after everyone left, and there was only 3 of us. You're talking about last week, there was confusion, but when we were in our committee meeting, there was only 3 of us in attendance when I asked for that addition.
Correct. And you emailed me the language, and I said it was clear to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it ended up being unclear to others.
Last week is what you're mentioning?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Kuzan, go ahead.
Mr. Kuzan.
Thank you. As supervisor of student welfare and attendance for 26 and a half years for this parish, I went to court many times with different cases. And whenever situations come up, the judge always asks, what does the law say? He did not like deviations from the law. And I'm just telling you, I was there. I did it a long time. Thank you.
Okay, so our motion is to accept the policy without item D on page 4 related to the the addition.
We're voting on the amendment to drop paragraph.
Correct. Yeah,
But that doesn't mean we're accepting.
that's right.
You gotta have another vote.
Hey, can I change my vote?
Yes. To remove the Crime Stoppers paragraph.
If you vote.
Six yeas, 8 nays.
Okay, so that amendment does not pass. 6 yeas, 8 nays. Is that correct? Okay, so now we're back to the original motion, which includes item D. And is there any more board discussion? Let's please vote. Waiting on Miss, we got it? Okay, and that motion carries 11 yeas, 1 nay, and 2 abstaining. Okay, item D is recommends acceptance of revisions to school board policy JDE, expulsion.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
I'd just like to know, when is this training happening, since it's now policy?
We'll upload it to Safe Schools, and then our employees do it. All of our training's on Safe Schools.
So there'll be an additional one that they're going to have to complete by when?
I'd have to get with Jennifer Alamon on that, and then I'll get back with you.
Can
if
you
don't
let me
mind.
know that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so item D is recommends acceptance of revisions to school board policy JDE, expulsions. Do I have a motion? Ms. Gallagher, do I have a second? Mr. Bro? Any comments from the public on the expulsion policy? All right, board members, please queue up. Ms. Hurstis?
I would like to, I guess this would be a friendly amendment to add to the policy. I would like to add to it, I guess, I don't know really, I guess, where to put it, but, I'm under child abuse, I'm sorry. I would like to add, a student returning from expulsion shall not be permitted on campus until a re-entry meeting with the student, parent/guardian, and designated school personnel has been held and all conditions of re-entry guidelines has been verified as met.
So board members, we're willing to put that in there so that it's clear we do that already. That already takes place. And so we have no problem putting that in there to read as Ms. Hurst has sent it. So that's not a problem with us at
Right.
all.
It's just putting it in writing, basically.
I
We're
was
fine with
second,
that.
so I would accept the friendly amendment.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer.
Yep, so we've got a motion, a friendly amendment motion by Ms. Hurstis and a second by Mr. Bro to include some language about students returning from expulsion.
Mr. Wells, did you want to say anything? No. Okay.
We're good. Any comments from the public on the amendment, on the motion? Any from the board? Ms. Baker?
I'd just like you to read that one more time.
I would like it emailed to me further.
I've got it.
Okay.
Yeah, look,
Just
do
read it.
you want me, and I can tear this off and give it to you too, but,
I have it.
oh, you have it? Oh, okay. A student returning from expulsion shall not be permitted on campus until a re-entry meeting with the student, parent/guardian, and designated school personnel shall be held and all conditions of reentry guidelines have been verified as met.
Thank you. So I guess my question then becomes, what are the reentry guidelines? Because what I was thinking along, and Ms. Hurstius and I did discuss it, but what I was thinking is given administration the power to do what that student needs to ensure success. And so some of that may include modified day, modified schedule, modified lunch, modified search, something that's going to say, look, we want you back. We're glad you're back. We hope you've reinvented yourself. What is, because we have that meeting, you have that meeting already, and what I think Ms. Hurstius added was reentry guidelines, and I don't think that's what I'm understanding. So I just want to make sure that there's nothing about that we're documenting what is happening until that child is back full-time and good. That's all I want.
Well, once they,
I think it's important if you hear Mike say what's done, and then let Kim talk from the SWE perspective also.
well, they meet with me originally, and I put them on disciplinary probation before they return to school. Once they go to the school, they also meet with the admin team, with their parent or guardian. And then the admin team puts in parameters of what they want the students to adhere to when they get there as well. So whether that is MHP, check in, check out, a contact person, something of that nature. So it's based on a case basis, and also based on what the offense was that they got put out for. We have things like safety plans put in place where they'll random check if it's drugs or weapons or something like that. So they do meet with the administration to go over what their expectations are when they come back to school.
Thank you. So that is the reentry guidelines. So all we're doing is formally putting that piece of paper where?
In their discipline file.
In their discipline file. How many repeat offenders do we have? Do you have that data?
No, ma'am, not on me, I don't.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion with an amendment. So let's vote on the amended motion. And this is a friendly amendment, so we're actually voting on the final motion as well with the amended language. And it looks like that motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Last item on our agenda tonight is public comments for 3 minutes. First up is Dustin Port.
Question. I have some of these for all the board members. Is that something I can physically hand out? So for those that don't know, the E-rate program is a federally funded system that falls under USAC. It is governed by the FCC. It currently pays between 70% and 80% of all the major telecommunication projects for St. Tammany Parish. It also pays for the phone and internet service for all your school systems, for all 56 plus schools. St. Tammany, so what you're going to be looking at is the actual a summarization of where y'all are currently with E-rate. I'm reading from the E-rate funding denial information. St. Tammany Parish School District faced a significant setback when the E-rate funding application was denied, resulting in a loss of over $5.3 million in federal telecommunication funds. The denial stemmed from multiple competitive bid violations that could have been avoided with proper oversight and adherence to federal guidelines. The implication extends beyond the immediate financial loss, raising concerns about internal processes and the potential impact of future funding opportunities for the district, students, and educational technology infrastructures. Currently, as of last year, you were denied $5.3 million. That amount is due to competitive bid violations. Also, from 2021 to 2025, Category 2 funding awards were expired and unused and clawed back from to E-rate, which was a loss directly to St. Tammany for $6.1 million. There were 3 major violations with distinct competitive bid rule infractions identified, rather. The E-rate program denial represents a substantial financial loss for the district. The $5.3 million is denied. Funding was specifically earmarked for telecommunication infrastructure improvement that was going to be at work for the benefit of the students and staff across the parish. The competitive bid violations are noted there as well. DR1, documentation changes, added conduit requirements for exposed cabling without extending the 28-day bid deadline required by FCC. DR2, unfair vendor access, allowing one vendor exclusive site survey access without making information available to all potential bidders. DR3, improper bid weight, failed to weigh price and most heavily considered factor in the bid evaluation. Each violation represents a fundamental misunderstanding of federal competitive bid requirements, suggesting systemic issues with the district's procurement process. Timeline. March 2024, your E-rate application was placed in selective service review. April 2024 to February 2025, the district worked through thoroughly to review process attempts and secure funding. And as March 6, 2025, a formal decision letter was received with detailed explanations of the violations.
Mr. Port?
Yep.
I'm sorry to have to cut you off.
Sure.
We have a 3-minute
Okay.
rule. Would request maybe if you come back at another time or send your findings in an email to the board members.
Okay.
Could be helpful.
Gotcha.
But I apologize to cut you off for the 3 minutes, but we do need to adhere to that rule.
Okay. Sounds good.
David Loader? Locker. Locker, sorry. I couldn't read your penmanship.
Good evening, Superintendent Javia, members of the board. My son is playing Little League Baseball right now. It's a new thing for me. My wife and I coordinate practice and schedules and budget for equipment. Like most families, we watch our money. So it's amazing to me how we spend a small fortune on baseball equipment for a 7-year-old. I've purchased 3 bats and maybe have the right size right now. We coordinate food and water bottles, snacks for the games. If one of us is tied up, we plan and line up some extra help to navigate around work, school, and practice schedules. This is on top of all the other details and responsibilities that face our family and many others in this parish every day. When things come up and unexpected events happen, families adjust to keep things going smoothly. Why do families do this? Is it their values, habits, relationships, fear of letting others down, letting themselves down? They want order. Taxpayers want their leaders to handle the details and take care of the basics they're paying for. They want them to make sure things go right. When I first heard that there were no standard copiers available to schools and teachers, I had to check again. You know that, "What did you just say?" response to give yourself time to process something that you know you did hear right, but needed some extra space to understand it because it was so far afield of what is normal. After 14 days of school, to the teachers, there was no obvious and clear communication as to the problem or the situation, as if all the baseball bats suddenly disappeared without an explanation, and you're left with only a stick to hit with. As a result of this failure, some teachers were forced to share one slow copy machine, standing in line of people during the planning period, and spending that entire planning time making copies. Imagine the anxiety. Beginning of the year, wanting to start off with your class well, working during the summer on new lessons or routines, preparing for a new grade or subject, and now waiting in the copy room, being forced to spend your own money at Office Depot or use your own printer and ink at home. Can you imagine? Will you imagine? Teachers get stuff done. Copiers or none. Bats or sticks. When they mess up, they apologize to students, parents, administration, because they are accountable for their actions. They have strong values and value community relationships. They work to maintain integrity and avoid letting people down, especially letting themselves down. Are you reflecting that? Do you attempt to honor teachers in your actions and words? Are you reciprocating in the high standards teachers hold themselves to? I'm asking, please provide the order taxpayers deserve, that teachers deserve, that students deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Locker. Stephanie Underwood.
Good evening, members of the board, superintendent, and administration. Stephanie Underwood, Executive Vice President of the Federation. On behalf of the St. Tammany Federation of Teachers and School Employees, I'm honored to introduce the Federation Care Closet. It's a new resource built by and for our educational family. The Care Closet exists for one reason: to make sure no employee or retiree has to face hardship alone. When life presents challenges, the Care Closet will be here to provide food, clothing, hygiene essentials, always with dignity and care. The resource is open to all current and retired St. Tammany Parish School Board employees with a valid school system ID. Each visit, employees can fill a kitchen-sized trash bag with the items they need. The closet will be open every Tuesday evening and on the first and third Saturday of each month. And everything is free. I want to personally invite each of you, our board members, superintendent, and administrative leaders, to join us for the grand opening and ribbon cutting on Thursday, October 2nd from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And it's right next door to our office, 19295 North 3rd Street, Suite 7 in Covington. We intentionally chose this date because it falls during fall break, giving as many of you as possible the opportunity to attend and celebrate with us. The chamber will be there and it'll be really fun, so we hope to see y'all. And to all our employees listening here tonight, watching online, this invitation is for you as well. The Care Closet was built for you, and we would love to see you at the grand opening. Our Federation members have already received this announcement by email, and I will be sending the information to Superintendent Jabia with the request that it be shared through the school system's email. That way, all employees should see these details in their inbox soon. I also want to note that the Care Closet is strengthened by partnerships with the community groups like our Friends Closet, who have long supported schools by stocking student care closets and making sure children have what they need. Together, we are now filling the needs of our system in more than one way, by ensuring that both students and employees have a place to turn to in times of hardship. This project began with the support of our Federation Executive Council and is strengthened by our community partners and donors who want to give back to the people who dedicate their lives to caring for the children of St. Tammany. Our vision is simple: a parish where no school employee, whether teacher, bus driver, custodian, cafeteria worker, retiree, or any of the many other dedicated employees who keep our schools running, has to endure hardship alone. The Care Closet is one step toward making that vision a reality. Thank you for allowing me to share this resource tonight, and I look forward to seeing y'all at the grand opening, October 2nd, 11 to 1. We're going to have food, light lunch, door prizes, and silent auctions, so come on.
Thanks, Stephanie. Mr. Osborne.
Good evening, Board President Green, board members, Superintendent Jabby, administration. Brent Osborne, President of the St. Tammany Federation. Recently, a former colleague of mine, Mr. David Locker, and I drove out to Thibodaux to visit our former principal, Mr. Billy C. Percy. He appeared at the door with the beginnings of a fine white Santa beard that should be in peak shape by Christmas. We talked about current events and education, but the real joy was recalling our time as Tigers. I freaking love teachers, he told us, lighting up with the same quiet fire he once carried through the halls of SHS. When he retired, I told him he was the best boss I ever had. SHS, under his leadership, was a wonderful place to work and grow as a teacher. Expectations were high, but so was respect. Teacher autonomy was a given. During the recent full CBA negotiations, much attention was paid to lesson planning and academic freedom. Administration, the board, and the Federation all had a hand in shaping that language. The kind of educator it envisions is one we can all be proud of. Textbooks don't change lives, teachers do. Workbooks don't change lives, paras do. Many teachers are already exercising a high level of professional autonomy, while others are still developing their craft. Both are vital to our system's growth. A textbook should be a resource, not a cure-all. Within the guidelines of the CBA and board policy, teachers must be free to exercise professional judgment in selecting, adapting, or creating supplemental materials that will give students the richest possible experience and help them achieve state standards. If we are truly to launch excellence, we must all recognize that professional autonomy is a journey, not a destination, and commit to building bridges between the administration, the board, and the Federation, so that together we inspire, support, and empower educators at every stage. As John Dewey once wrote, teachers are not soldiers expected merely to obey, or cogs in a wheel expected to transmit energy. They must be intelligent mediums of action. Now that sounds like a guy who freaking loves teachers. And I am a guy who loves teachers, all school employees, and students. Based on my time as a Slidell Tiger, I believe Mr. Percy would approve this message. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you. All right. Safe Schools trainings are due Friday, September 12th. Schools are closed October 2nd and 3rd for Fall Fair holiday. October Committee as a whole meeting will be on Thursday, October 9th at 6 p.m. The October Board meeting will be on Thursday, October 16th at 6 p.m. And with no further business, this meeting is adjourned.